Somebody said podcasts shouldn't be productions. Podcasts should be fun. A bunch of guys talking. I'm like, dude, I got that covered. You want a bunch of guys talking with bad audio and some beers in the background? I got you. It's called the Small Business Safari.
That's right.
Mother fluffer. Because I just found out a new way to say that, by the way. TikTok. That's what you can say
On TikTok?
and get away with it. Am I still explicit? That's right. I am.
No.
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. Hey, everybody, it's Chris again. It's the Small Business Safari where we take you from here to there, from there to here, and here to there, and back again. Oh, my God, new tagline, Alan. Look out. Because...
I think we need to work on that one a little bit.
Okay, let me work on it.
Here
now.
to there, to there, to here, and then there to where?
Huh?
I don't know.
What the hell are we doing here?
God.
Let's get it going, everybody. Hey, we're having fun.
Cheers.
And we say in every episode, cheers. Alan, we started this idea when I begged you at a bar after many beers to do a podcast. And you said, I'll do it. I'm like, yes. And so then when I called you sober, Alan, I got a great idea. What was that again? We have so much fun. We talk about business. We think we understand a lot about business. We think we got a lot of stuff we can share with other people, and we've experienced a lot. We've seen a lot. And we'd love to get really smart people in the room with us to help share their experiences with us. Let's go do it. And you went,
no, that's not quite accurate.
all right, what'd you do?
No, I'm in. I love you, man.
All right, baby.
We have so much fun talking about. So just for the listeners, we would get together about once a quarter and just crush some crappy dive bar. And we're talking, we were catching up on families, blah, blah, blah. But then all of a sudden we're getting into business and we're getting all excited. And then we think we're funny because we've had 14 beers. And
exactly.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, this could be helpful to other people. And I think one thing that you and I have in common is we love small business and we love helping other people be successful. We're not just like, keeping all of our things to ourselves like McScrooge McDuck,
right.
We want other people to, and so if we could have a little fun and throw a couple gold nuggets out there, then let's do it.
So we did it. You're right. You didn't go sigh. You're like, all right, man, let's do it. So we got it going, and we started literally 1 year ago today. What we do is we get in the room and we, in the beginning, talked about my book.
Oh, yeah. You wrote a book.
Oh, thank you, Alan. And the prompt works, everybody.
I used to be so much more excited about this.
I published a book,
prompt.
baby.
That's right.
I published a book and I got it out there and we talked about that. But what that book was about was that journey from the zoo to the wild. How did you actually have the cojones to leave corporate America and do it? But I didn't really have cojones. I just was naivete. Ooh, to use some more words.
No, I think you had balls. Everybody who's listening to this, if you've actually gone out and started your own business, male or female, you got balls.
You got to have them. You got to strap in. You got to strap on. You got to strap up.
I don't know, man. I mean, it just takes a lot of guts. You've got everything against you except for your enthusiasm and your dreams.
Exactly right.
The government seems to be always trying to figure out how to screw you. Your competition's trying to figure out how to screw you. Certain customers are trying to figure out how to screw you. And you're like, screw you all. I'm doing this.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to go out and do it. So we said, all right, let's go do it. So in the beginning, you and I got together. We got in a room in my office, drank some beers, talked about different topics that you and I are both passionate about, which is, again, small business, customer service, getting after things. And then we started inviting people in. And I always thought, I brought this up to one guest where I said, when you're out there doing it, everybody's telling you don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he was like, oh no, all my friends were telling me, do it, go do it, go do it. I'm like, well, shit, I need to find those friends.
I need new friends.
I need new friends. But you get started doing it in today's economic world and where we're at, where there's potentially a recession happening. And, I started reading more articles. And you know what's funny? What do the articles say?
Doom
and
gloom. The sky is falling. So you're screwed. We're all screwed.
We're all going down. Life is completely going to go down. The U.S. government is absolutely in shambles. It will never pull itself out. So I went ahead and read some articles from 1980.
Oh,
guess what I read?
Doom,
gloom.
The sky is falling.
The government will never pull themselves out of it. And right about that time, they hired some dude who was an actor, and it was going to be even worse. And it's funny when you start reading it. Then you start reading these other articles. When's the best time to start a business?
Today.
Crazy, right?
There's just nothing that can repress the American spirit, and the entrepreneurial spirits, which is what's made this country great. And no matter what's going on in politics, it's just part of our DNA. And you have it, I have it, all the people we've talked to have it, and it's awesome. And like I said earlier, everybody's trying to get you. They're trying to screw you. They're trying to put roadblocks in your way, and it just makes it that much better when you succeed.
Right? Isn't that more fun? Because if it was easy, everybody would do it. I've actually had to keep saying that to myself here the last couple of weeks. If it was easy, everybody would do it. If it was easy, everybody would do it. I'm like, well, it feels hard though. But do you want to let the gators pull you back down? We had a great training session at my company a week ago, and I want to share this one with you because it wasn't my idea. It was Ed, who has been on the podcast. He's the man behind the scenes. And do you know what happens when you put a group of crabs in a pot and not boiling? They're not going out. What do they try to do?
I'm assuming either get out or mate.
They get out. They're all trying to get out. So these crabs are trying to get out of the bucket. What are the other crabs doing?
Trying to pull them down.
Pull them right back down, baby.
These crabs suck.
Crabs suck. So there you go, gold nugget. Crabs suck. Maybe, I don't know, but they do. Crabs, you're trying to get out, and these other crabs are pulling you back in. And so, one of my favorite lines from the worst Godfather movie ever.
Would that be Godfather 3?
Yeah, actually, I actually don't even reference it by number because it's that bad. But just when I think I got out, they pull me back in. Yeah. And I'm not going to let people pull me back in. I wasn't going to let people pull me back into that world of, you know what, Chris, go back to corporate America, get your 401k, get your healthcare benefits. You work for the man, you get the salary, and your whole family gets to flourish. Oops. So key phrase there is that's a hard part because I came out and I wasn't going to let them suck me back in. But it's tough. I mean, when you finally get out of that bucket and you're off and running, I was running, bumbling, stumbling, running through everything, dropping down. And that's why you got to go find these people. And that's the question I'm going to ask you. What has been one of the best things of doing this podcast over the last year for you?
Man, that's a good question. So I have had so much fun with you. I mean, for me, it's just fun. I mean, commercial real estate, the podcast is really designed for the small business person, somebody who's either just started maybe, or somebody who's thinking about starting with a really heavy dose of home services. And so here I am in commercial real estate. It has nothing to do with it, but I just freaking love small business. And, I think the world of you, to be honest. And so for me, I just look forward to coming and hanging out, and it's been a great journey. We've met a lot of really cool people. We've heard some amazing stories. We've had some podcasts that have completely gone off the rails for one reason or another. We've had some where we just lost control of the guest and they were just blah, 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 But then we've had some like, we had the guys talking about, he's a business coach. And next thing you know, we find out he does the flight plan for the Beijing and Sochi Olympics. And I'm like, okay, we just got to talk about that. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just roll it. that's been fun. To be honest with you, it's another thing to learn. And I think, one of the great things about life is just enjoying the journey and learning new things. And, you're not learning new things, Chris. You're just going on lots of really cool vacations, but I'm trying to learn new things.
Right.
And, I mean, as you know, I didn't even want to listen to these podcasts at first when we were doing
You didn't.
I was
in fact,
terrified.
I think it took you, was it 6 months, maybe even 7 months?
It was pretty close to 6 months, and
would
you're
do
going to be horrified. And I have a pretty solid track record of public speaking. I'm an educator by nature, and so I've taught a lot of classes. I'm not afraid to be in public, but this is a different thing. There are people listening around the world. You're getting feedback on a regular basis, which I didn't expect. I mean, I thought, well, people on social media will go, either you're great or you suck or whatever. But the fact that people pick up the phone and call you is kind of a mind bender. And but I had to finally start listening and realizing I need to step up my game. So it's self, what do you call it? Introspection.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep.
Somebody asked me, he said, Chris, are you starting to get too distracted from your own business by doing this podcast? And I said, no, the exact opposite. I said, not only does it get me jacked up and jazzed up to get on the headset and the microphone and talk with you, because I have enjoyed it. And thank you so much for coming along this journey. But some of that stuff that we've heard has been just mind-bendingly awesome.
It's so funny how excited you get when somebody is talking about things during the podcast, and all of a sudden you're writing notes. And I know it's not for the podcast. It's you can't wait to have your meeting tomorrow with your team.
Oh, I'm going nuts.
Yeah.
The shiny object is in front of me, and that shiny object getting shoved right up my team's ass, baby, because I was so pumped.
It started with the Temple of Ted. I mean, you were just going nuts, but I've seen it over and over again. And that's just really fun for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's because if you're willing to learn and listen and take some of this stuff back, the podcast here has been great for me, because I remember one where we got on the podcast and we're talking, and you started telling us that you started to plan for your holiday vacation schedule for your team in August because you were in a retail business.
Yeah.
And we were in November, and you're sitting there and
you're like, oh shit.
And I was shitting. And that's one of the times where I was actually writing down, looking at the pad right now on my paper. And
it's like we needed to pause the podcast so you could go implement this.
And that's Chris's scribblings, because that's on Facebook Live, but you can't see it in the podcast. But I wrote that down, and next morning I'm like, all right, everybody, we need everybody's vacation schedule. And sure enough, I'll be damned if 3 of them were going to be out the same damn day.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
you never told me that.
No, we had to fix it. Yeah. And so they all shifted their schedules, and we had enough time to make the move. So people ask me, hey man, are you making any money off this podcast? Hey, why are you doing that? Because it's all about money. And are you focused? Are you doing the right thing? And I had to explain to one guy, I was like, well, you know what? Actually, believe it or not, I had picked up a couple Trusted Toolbox jobs. Believe it or not, I picked up a couple clients for the Home Service Institute, where we train other companies on how to provide great customer service. That's thehomeserviceinstitute.com. That's Zoo to the Wild. That's customerservice.freak on Instagram. Go out and find me. Chris, follow me on Facebook. That's enough shameless plugs. Let's keep going. But it was really cool.
You didn't mention your book.
From the Zoo to the Wild.
Okay,
available on Amazon. And in fact, I just went out there and looked, and there's a couple of used copies available. I'm like,
really?
Already?
Somebody's already read it and turned it in?
I turned it back in. I'm like, ouch. So bestseller list here. I'm gonna make no. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm like, I can't wait to go to a book signing with John Grisham and be right there with him. I'm like, yeah, I wrote that book too.
Hey, excuse me, John. Get out of my
John.
way.
I think they're here for me, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
That's right.
Please, no autographs. I'm working here. Right. This is my work.
John,
time.
You've been mailing it in for a while. Let me I will tell you, I feel like we've come such a long way, because we started in another room and we tried to start doing all the podcast videoed. And so there was that kind of awkwardness of, okay, I'm really talking on a podcast radio, but we're being videoed, and we quickly scrapped that. But we had this tiny little microphone the size of a postage stamp just in between us. And And now here we are. You're already on your second or third soundboard, and we've got headsets, better microphones. And if you go back and listen to earlier podcasts, it makes me feel bad because I think we had really good content. I think we're a lot tighter now, but just the sound volume is so much better.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot better. I mean, the way we're putting these things out there, we're still, somebody said podcasts shouldn't be productions. Podcasts should be fun. A bunch of guys talking. I'm like, dude, I got that covered. You want a bunch of guys talking with bad audio and some beers in the background? I got you. It's called the Small Business Safari.
That's right.
Mother fluffer. Because I just found out a new way to say that, by the way. TikTok. That's what you can say
on TikTok
and get away with it. Am I still explicit? That's right. I am.
Yeah. Well, and it takes you a while to just sort of get used to the fact that you and I are just hanging out and talking. We happen to have this big fluffy microphone in between us, but it's been a tremendous amount of fun. I think we've come a long way, and I think there's some business applications to it.
Yeah, we talked about this off the podcast. I want to consider this thing edutainment. We're educating, but it's also entertaining.
At least to us.
Well, I think we picked up some good things. Let's talk about Temple of Ted and branding. We'll go back to that one. You don't need to wait a whole year to see if it's going to work for you as a small
A/B
business.
testing.
You got to do A/B testing. If this one doesn't work and that one does, then you want to go that way. Come on. That stuff is just like flipping gold, bro. And then we got back to the branding. We just had Andy Suggs on where we had a part 2 where he starts talking about Aaron's Rents. Aaron Rents had been in Atlanta in the Southeast for 60 years?
Forever.
And they were going nowhere. They wanted to grow. And they created this A-team, the double A-team brand. He brings Mr. T in because Mr. T has this Q score. I'm like, Q score? What the hell's the Q score? Can't even spell that. Does it start with a Q?
It does start with a Q.
Oh, then I guess I could spell it.
Yeah.
I got spotted the Q. So he does the Q score, finds out Mr. T goes off the charts, and everybody remembers Mr. T. But who's buying Aaron's Rents, or who's buying rent-to-own stuff? It's not Mr. T watchers from when they grew up watching Mr. T at this point. It's younger people, but younger people identify. And he figured this out, rolls it out. And so we had him talking to us about that incredible branding opportunity.
But I even think the podcast itself is such a great parallel to just starting a business. You had this idea, we're talking about it over beers. It finally comes to fruition. We start on a shoestring with the postage stamp microphone. We sound like crap. We don't know what we're doing. And then I think you've been really good from the get-go. And like I said, I'm really comfortable speaking in public, but on a microphone is very different. I go back and listen and I find out that, okay, yeah, I've got a really Northwesty accent, and I tend the way I speak, I've told people like, oh, you sound like you're just like on NPR. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, and for certain applications, it's great.
Like editorial note.
Yeah.
It's not a compliment.
It's not on.
Not if you're edutaining.
Yeah. Not if you're edutaining. If you're just truly educating, it's perfect. And, but for me to just kind of get a little bit more aggressive on the mic. So I had to have reflection, introspection, and I had to look at myself first to see how can I be better at this thing. And then you start making investments in the podcast with the equipment. So just like investing in your business, we're getting customer feedback. You're paying attention to the customer feedback. And then guess what? Recently, so we've actually grown a pretty sizable audience with zero marketing.
Yeah.
And then now, so we've got people listening in places all around the world. And guess what? You decide to start investing in marketing dollars, and all of a sudden the hockey stick happens. This is just like starting a business.
Well, it's funny you say that like that, because you're right. As a guy, and you've always done this for me, you gave me that mirror on myself, because before we got started, you heard me saying, well, it's just not going like I thought, but I'm going to still do it. If you're willing to still do it, I just hope it would take off like it is supposed to take off. And you're like, well, how many countries are we in? I'm like, well, I don't know, like 5, whatever. I don't even know. Yeah, maybe 5, maybe 6. Well, how many listeners? Well, with like 2,000 an episode. You go, well, what? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not like Joe Rogan. I'm not like Smartless. I'm not. I'm not Bateman. I'm not. I don't. Nobody. I don't have a true crime podcast, so people aren't listening to me. I'm not. I was measuring myself against them.
Yeah. And I mean,
And
you are
using
doing
them as my definition of success.
right. And you're doing so. I don't know what the percentages are, but business podcasts, there's a gazillion of them, and you've niched it down to small business startup, particularly in the home services space. I mean, I think our success has been tremendous. And, I love the fact that you're comparing yourself to Smartless and Rogan, but
We're not going to be them.
well, so number one, we're not celebrities and we haven't done a lot of movies or, Fear Factor or anything like that.
That's true.
And the fact that,
I've been
you
doing
waited a
Fear
year
Factor.
before you marketed it. Yeah, from an organic standpoint, I think it's been fantastic.
Yeah. The best part, I asked you what your best part was. Here was my best part. My best part was I went to a national conference for remodelers back a couple months ago. And this guy comes up to me and just starts talking. Talking to me like he just knows me. And I feel like I'm really good at facial recognition. I know people I talk to, and I know if I've talked to you. And I'm looking at the guy going, oh my God, I've got early onset dementia. And as we all know, or just learn, for me at least, is that dementia is attributed to how much you drink, how stressed out you are, and how bad you sleep. And by the way, I do all three of those. Drink a lot, don't sleep a lot, and stress a ton. So I'm like, oh my God, I have early onset dementia. And this guy's talking to me, but he's talking to me about, hey man, your daughter's funny, man. You do better. I'm like, yeah. Oh, and he goes, yeah, I listen to all your podcasts. And he goes, man, it's really helped me with my business remodeling in Austin, Texas. I'm like,
That's
oh my
awesome.
God. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, not that it wasn't celebrity, but in the beginning it was like,
By the way, if he's listening, I freaking love Austin, Texas.
yeah, man. I hope you're listening because, dude, that was a blast. So big shout out. I appreciate the applause and the thank yous.
All right, Chris, I got you for our 1-year anniversary, a special present for those of you who've listened to our podcast the whole time. There, when I went to Belgium to visit my son in grad school, we ended up making friends with the brewer in Leuven, Belgium, who has been carrying on the tradition of the monks in this brewery. And this is the 900-year anniversary celebration beer that he made. And the fact is when he brews a small batch in the same spot where the monks did in the era of the Romans, once that beer's gone, it's gone. And my son just came home recently and brought me the last one.
Oh,
this is
God,
it.
Alan.
So the 900 to
Cheers.
our 1 year.
I just put it on
Cheers.
Facebook Live. Great
Yeah.
picture. I want to post it out. We'll take a picture of it later. That was so cool. Here's something else that was cool. Alan's been such a great friend, and we go back and forth quite a bit together. And yes, we like to make fun. If you listen to the podcast, that I like to enjoy life.
Well, it's all about you, Chris, as evidenced by the fact that you're the only one on camera right now.
Yes, it is. Thank you for pointing that out, Alan. I didn't even bring Alan on camera because he was like, number one, I don't want to do Facebook Live. I don't want to. I'm like, we're doing it.
That sounds just like me.
Yeah, just like that. So I go see my son who was in Spain studying for 6 weeks as part of his school semester, or it's called a school study abroad program. And he's in Cadiz, Spain.
Cadiz.
And as we like to say in the US, we say Cadiz. But as I got over there and I was very worldly, because that's what you do, you say Cadiz. And he said, Dad, I just had this Belgian beer. Do you think it's any good? And I said, well, what is it? I said, well, give me the name. I said, I'll send it to Alan. Alan will tell me. And Alan writes back, oh, yeah, that's good beer.
Delirium Tremens.
That's what we did. Delirium Tremens. So he took me to the place, and because my son doesn't drink. And we got the Delirium Tremens out there and drank it. And I think I sent you back a picture of it saying I had one, but that's so cool when you have a buddy who takes the time when you're overseas having a blast to let you know, hey, do you even have more fun without me? Please go there.
Yeah, right.
So good times. So we're in Cadiz and drinking that beer.
Are you saying Cadiz?
I say Cadiz.
How's it spelled?
Cadiz with a little point. Punto. But you can't say puto because puto
Means asshole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so Alan sent me over there to Spain with one mission.
I was wondering if you remembered. I gave you a
Alan,
quest.
and everybody listening, listen to me. Here's what you're going to get on this podcast. Are you ready?
Oh, God, I can't wait.
So Alan says, Chris, when you go to Spain and you haven't seen your son for 6 weeks, and everything you've gone through with your son, and everything has happened to him, and where he's become, and where he is now, and he's doing amazing. My one job for you, as you go with your wife, as you go over there and get to see somebody you haven't seen for 36 years who stay with you, is enjoy yourself. No. Make sure you hug yourself. No. I want you to find me the perfect paella recipe. That is my one job for you, Chris. Find me the perfect paella. And I said, challenge accepted.
I love it.
So what did I do?
You just pushed your son aside and said,
hang on, everybody. Yeah, my son came up and said, Dad, he came running across the hotel room. My 21-year-old son, Dad. No, my wife, Chris.
This is so romantic.
Chris, my conquering hero. Thank you so much for allowing us to go on this incredible vacation.
Yeah, whatever.
That didn't happen.
Right.
None of the above. However, I had one goal. And my one goal was to get the perfect paella. And everybody, guess what?
Did you bring it home?
I have not, but here's what we're going to do. The man who made the perfect paella for me while I was there is willing to come on here and do a video Zoom class with us, teaching us how to do the perfect paella. So we will do this. And this guy is a lawyer in Spain, has his own business. We're going to talk business and we're going to talk paella. He has pretty good English. Well, how about this? His English is a lot better than my puto español.
I am so excited about that.
So I said, guys, we've got to do this.
So wait a minute.
His friends, the friends are saying, can we do a group Zoom so we can meet your friend? Because here's what happened to me when I went to Spain. We went to Spain. We saw my son in Cádiz, Spain, which is in the south of Spain. And it is a beautiful place. And I can't tell you enough. If you get a chance to go, this will be a once in a lifetime place. You will not see another place like this in the world. It was that incredible. And you're saying, well, Chris, how do you know that? I don't.
You can see it in my eyes, can't you?
Yeah. I haven't been to that many places. So
is it like Alabama?
No. Really? You know what it was like? Here's how I explain it. If you've never been to the US, it's like going down A1A in Florida and you go to one of those sleepy beach towns and they're just all hanging out and just like, hey man, you want to catch a wave? I don't know if there's no waves. I have a little bit of water. You want to get a beer? Yeah, let's get the beer. You want to get a conch shell? Yeah, let's get some conch. Conking, we'll do that. We just got kind of hanging, right? You go to Cádiz, Spain, that's the mentality. They had siesta from 4 to 7 every day. And we went
to Spain's Florida.
It is Spain's Florida. And people, and they have beaches, but it's also originally their
mullets. They were jorts.
Then nobody had spray paints either. So they had these really small streets, and I guess that's where the original Spanish Constitution was developed. And they say that Christopher Columbus actually sailed out of there originally. So it's a really old port town that now is just really laid back and all about the beaches and the university that's there. How cool.
Now, this lawyer is a friend and happens to make paella, or does he have a restaurant?
So we go to Barcelona.
Barcelona.
We said that we went to Barcelona. Viaje a la Barcelona. So I go to see my friend, Jose. And Jose should be watching this, but of course it's 6 hours ahead. It's 12:45 there at this point while we're taping and doing all this stuff. He's sleeping. So Jose, I get to go see him. And he says, Chris, I have your agenda all figured out. I said, okay, Jose, let's go do it. So we land in Barcelona. We get to our hotel. He comes to pick us up at the hotel. We go to a tapas bar. Tapas, not topless.
I thought you said topless.
I was downstairs so flipping fast.
You were super excited.
I was super excited. I was down there. My wife and my wife and my son were like, Dad, what's going on? I said, we're going to the topless bar. Let's go. I gotta go. Go to the topless bar. Can't wait. They're like, it's tapas, Dad. I thought you took
That
Spanish.
means
I said,
it's like little plates.
literally, I
right?
took 6 years of Spanish. I had a Spanish guy live with me. I have a bunch of Hispanic guys working for me. And I was like, Topless. No, it's tapas. So we went to Tapas Bar. Then we got to see La Sagrada Familia, which, if you're Catholic, is amazing. If you're inspired by art, is amazing. If you're in construction and you want to make a lot of money on a really long project, is even more amazing. This thing has been being built for, I think we're going on 300 years.
It's a cathedral.
It's a cathedral called La Sagrada Familia, developed by and designed by Gaudí. And it is still under construction today.
That's amazing. Can you imagine working on something your whole life and you know you're not going to see the end of it?
No, I sat there as a guy in construction, as a Catholic.
I've had some contractors who I felt like I would never see the end of the work they did. Not
I'd like to say I'm the Gaudí of handyman. I can never finish a project. So we got to see that, and then we did the walking. We actually had an Apple Watch on, and we found that we were walking between 7 and 10 miles a day while we were over there.
Isn't it something when you're in Europe and suddenly you're exercising more and you're eating more appropriate meals and
the food over there is just not nearly as poisoned as it is here in the
yeah,
US.
it's just like as much fun as we make at Europe. I mean, they really kind of got it right.
I ate and drank like a king over there and lost 2 pounds.
Yeah. I know
that?
when I went to Italy on our 10th anniversary, I'm like, I'm going to gain 10 pounds. I want this giant Italian woman to pinch my cheeks and tell me I'm too skinny and I'm going to gain 10 pounds. And I didn't. I lost weight.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What's so much fun about going to another culture and getting to see all this stuff is that you start to expand your mind, because especially in the US, we get very myopic because we're so big and there's so much going on here.
And we are awesome.
And we are the United States of America, the leader of the free world.
Right.
But we get very myopic and
everybody's speaking German if it weren't for us.
Amen to that. It's amen, even English. I don't even know. So we go out, right? He goes, Chris, I had the next thing. I said, what's the next thing? He goes, my friends, one owns 2 restaurants and a catering business. My other friend owns 2 hotels and loves to cook.
And you're thinking,
other friend,
I'm gonna be able to deliver to Alan what he requested.
I am getting the perfect paella. So I said, are we going to have paella? And he says, no, not tonight. And so far be it for me to tell 18 other people that no, the ugly American wants paella and he will have paella.
Make me paella now.
Or America will now take over Spain because I am the ugly American. So we did not get it. But what we did, Alan, was one of the most amazing things I've ever done. Is all the men got together early and went to the market. And we don't go to Publix or Kroger or pick your restaurant, your supermarket.
Piggly Wiggly.
Piggly Wiggly. We go to literally 8 different places. Number 1, the charcuterie. We had to go get the meats. Number 2, the vinegar. We had to get the right vinegar. So we had to go to the vinegar market. And then we had to go to the egg market. I actually made a joke in Spanish that they all kind of got, and they all placated the ugly American because I finally spoke a little bit of Spanish to him.
You made a joke in Spanish?
I did.
In bad Spanish?
I did totally bad Spanish. I said, I didn't know there were that many different kinds of chickens because there were eggs in all these different baskets. So we went to one egg place, the egg shop in this market. Then we go to the cheese shop in the market. Then we go to the bread shop in the market. Then we finally go to what all Barcelonans love, and that is their seafood. And it had already pre-packed his entire thing. We're walking all around here, and we're walking around with these little strollers. Basically, they're like baby strollers.
And all this stuff came directly from the chicken, the baker, the cheesemonger.
Here's what I learned. Chicken eggs in Spain do not need to be refrigerated.
No.
Why?
Because they don't wash them.
Exactly. They don't go bad. They don't wash them because they don't put near the chemicals on them that we do here in the U.S. Like I said, I ate over there like a king and drank their wine. Never once was hungover. never once had sulfites in
the
it.
quality of everything is so much better over there. It's the whole farm to table thing. And if you ever grow a tomato plant in your backyard, and then you compare the tomato that you grew, no matter how you grew it, compared to something that you got at the grocery store, it's night and day. And it's just that on steroids in Europe.
So what do we do then? Well, we get all the food. We go to his office, and I can't explain it, but I put it on Instagram. That's customerservice.freak. Go out there and take a look at one of my posts. And I went in to his office. So one of the guys has an office. His office is covered up by this street painting. We open this door, we go into this door, and we go into this office. And you see the office in the front third, the second third, a commercial grade stove and kitchen. The third is the dining area where we're going to eat. The bottom part is a wine cellar that he just found down there. And I got posts and pictures out there. These guys cook the most phenomenal meal that night. And we talk. And while we're talking, they're talking about World War II and their fathers being in World War II, talking about the Spanish view of World War II, because I don't know if you knew this, but Spain had an agreement with Hitler is that they just got out of a civil war and they were decimated and they would not do anything against him, but they couldn't do anything for him either. Yeah. So they stayed away from it. And so some of the Spanish folks actually got into the war. So we had two helmets, one from the US and one from Nazi Germany.
Wow.
And I took a picture with them. And the guy said, you got in Spanish, you have to try the helmets on. Tell me, which helmet is more comfortable for you? In Spanish, he says. And I said, oh, this one. He goes, the American helmet. Yes. He goes, guess why they won the war? The more comfortable helmet wins the war. So I meet with them and I tell them, I'm like, guys, but I have one mission. Thank you so much for this beautiful meal. I had sea bass, I had sardines, I had shrimp, I had clams, I had just the most incredible meal ever. I said, but thank you so much. However, you have failed me.
Yeah.
My friend said I had to come here with one goal, and that was to get the perfect paella. And one guy says, I have the perfect paella.
Nice. So it worked.
And I will do this. I said, well, how can we do this? He goes, I will do a cooking class for you and your friend. I said, perfect. You're coming on my podcast. So we will be doing the Perfect Paella podcast.
So this will be the first time in our 1 year history where I'm going to be excited to do a Zoom podcast.
This will be the only time.
It'll be the only time, because that's one thing I've learned is in person, and this is another business thing. In person is so much better than over the phone.
All right. Number one, in person is way better than Zoom. You're right. We're going to keep trying to say we can do it. There is a reason Tesla's laying off 10% of their workforce, and that's because these employees refuse to come back to work in person.
Mother fluffers.
These mother fluffers are, and I love that phrase, are coming back to work, or they're not coming back to work. And if you ain't coming back to work, mother fluffer, guess what? We're going to find somebody else.
So they're not really laying off 10% of the workforce. They're just getting rid of the dead weight. Beautiful. Good for Tesla.
So who was I sitting at the table with having this incredible meal that they all prepared for me? The only thing I did, I finally said, guys, let me do something. So I peeled potatoes.
That's kind of a definition of the Peter principle, don't you think?
I think I was right where I needed to be. Don't let me cook. You guys just cook. I'll eat it. And I'll let you know how good it is.
You roast
when you go around the table. When you go around the table of all the people you're with, we've talked about this before. You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with every day.
You've mentioned that before. It's a big thing for you.
It is a big thing for me.
So am I bringing your average down a little bit?
You're not bringing my average down. And this is where we're going to end up at the end. Why did I do this podcast? I wanted to get introduced to people who are better than me, that were going to be more fun than me. Now, are there people out there like that? And is that
there's nobody more fun than you? You're Mr. Fun. That's why you're on camera and I'm not.
That's right, baby. But hanging out with you, Alan, and getting to do that. And when you say Alan's in one of my circle of 5, I'm doing all right. My average is going up because, and that's a big thing. And when I looked around that room that night and I asked Jose, how did you know him? How do you know him? How do you know him? Why are you friends? Why are you friends? Why do you consider them friends? And it wasn't about, well, he's got more. He's more. Oh, he's this. He's that. Oh, he's wildly rich. It was never about money.
Hmm.
What was it about? Friendships, being real, being authentic, being somebody that other people wanted to be with and be interesting. He said and they were all night. Some of them could barely speak Spanish. Could barely speak English. They all spoke. I could speak no Spanish, but we did it. We were able to get along. And I would tell you, those guys, I came out of that night
with friends.
Yeah. And in Spain, they have a concept, and this one I bring up to you. It's called the choca. TXOCHA. And I'm doing a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of English, because I'm still kind of coming off the time. Because I actually do know a little bit enough where I can say it, but it's called the choca. And the choca is men getting together, breaking bread, and talking. And I told them in my broken Spanish that my friend Alan, who has sent me here to find the perfect paella, is a member of a men's club where that's that group, the group of choca. You get together as men and you get better. Mm-hmm. You get to share your experiences. You get to have people. And isn't that kind of like what it's all about?
Yeah. And even if you're a woman, listen to this, it's just, there's nothing more important than having good people around you that support you, love you, and help make you better. And they're there for you. And you and I have both had some hell things happen in our lives this last year, and we're there for each other. And it's just, there's just no number you can put on the value of that.
Yeah. It wasn't money. It wasn't trappings. It wasn't the cars, the boats, yes, I went on all those, by the way. But
you'd like me a lot more if I had a big cigarette speedboat, but
I would.
So let me ask you this. You went over there looking for the perfect paella recipe. Did you have paella?
Of course I had paella.
And was it?
I had 4 different paellas.
Okay.
Because I was on a search for my friend Alan to find the perfect paella. So my job was to, every time I go to a place, I said, I will have this and I will have a paella.
And
because here's the other thing. I found out the food over there is also a lot less expensive in Cadiz, which is in the South Spain.
So you could order 2 things.
So I did. The gluttonous
you are
American.
Such a big baller.
Oh, dude, I did it.
So the paella. So okay. So let me ask you the key to the paella. I mean, obviously, it has to taste great. Is that saccharat?
It's a saccharat. Absolutely.
And is it everything I've heard about?
Yeah. You back to the perfect paella, and I think Carlos will tell us this when he gets on this. It's the love that goes into it, and it's the base. It's the ragu. If you're an Italian, it's the bouillabaisse. If you're French, and Creole, it'd be the rouge. You know, the pan as you stir it. It's the beginning, and it's how you start that rice. Is how the whole thing comes together. It starts from the base.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
And the Spanish rice. That's the other thing.
I got a big bag of the bomba rice, but I just want to know what that saccharat.
I don't know how they make it. That's the only thing I couldn't figure that part out.
You gotta have the balls, just like in business. You gotta have the balls to just when the dish is done, you turn up the heat and then you just toast it at the end. Look at you. You're having a big time.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Because it come out and it was just, it came out because I told them, I said, again, it's broken Spanish. My friend has a big pan.
Oh, so what did that come across as?
And I got that right. But of course I made the joke after. I said, I did not say big penis. And that's where I lost the room. I said, but he's got the pan.
You're like a celebrity in Spain now, aren't you?
I don't think so. It was so funny because one of obviously our podcast, Jose listens to it, and a couple of his friends had listened to it as well. And so but again, I don't know how many can listen to it. So the next day after we had done the choca and we had the fun and the great meal, we got to go out on one of his friends' boats, and it, again, mind-blowingly exotic. It was just so much fun.
Just another day in Chris's life.
It was on the Mediterranean Sea floating. By the way, did you know the Mediterranean Sea is one of the most buoyant seas? Because I found that I just could sit out there and float while somebody kept throwing me wine. And I just did that all day. And
you got really good at that. You're naturally really good at it.
I am good at buoyancy. You know what? I could move to Barcelona.
Barcelona.
They thought 30 minutes was a long drive. And I was like, okay, that's great. 30 minutes, that barely gets me out of my subdivision.
No, I know.
Yeah. So we've had so much fun. This has been one great year. This is edutainment. We're trying to bring it all back to how does business work, but how does life work? Because what's funny is when you talk to people about business, and I talked to 3 of them while I was over there, because obviously I love small business, and 3 of them have started business, and one of them is running hotels. I'm like, why'd you get in this business? Oh, this business is so flipping hard. Why'd you do it? And he said, it's about the people, and it's about the relationships, and it wasn't about I got to make more money, or it wasn't money driven. If you find purpose driven, you find life driven, you find something that you can make it all happen. What do you think if you can just make it all happen together? Because what's more important is the choka.
Yeah, man. Right. Yeah, amen.
So good.
Yeah.
With that, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for 1 year. Thank you, Alan, for coming along this journey with me. We're going to keep doing this. And everybody, keep going up that mountaintop. You're going to find success. It's not monetary. It's got to be something that's bigger than that. Find it. Let's do it. Make it happen. But you know what? Those habits will help you get up that mountain. Keep developing those habits and keep doing it every day. Let's go, everybody. I'm out of here.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Remember to keep that positive attitude, which will reflect in a higher altitude as you're out there making it happen in the wild world of small business ownership. Until next time, go make it a great day, Adventure Team.